Gratitude is often presented as something you are supposed to practice, train, or force yourself to feel. Many people are taught to repeat words of thanks, to list reasons to be grateful, or to maintain a grateful attitude in order to improve their lives. While this approach may sound positive, it often carries a subtle tension beneath it. When gratitude becomes a technique, it stops being natural. The mind tries to produce a feeling it does not yet recognize. It says, I should be grateful, even when something inside feels resistant, tired, or disconnected. In that moment, gratitude turns into effort, and effort quietly reveals that the mind believes something is still missing. This kind of forced gratitude is not wrong, but it is incomplete. It treats gratitude as a tool to change circumstances or to obtain results. It assumes that life is lacking, and that gratitude is a way to fix that lack. From this assumption, gratitude becomes another task, another thing to manage, instead of a natural response to truth. Many people feel discouraged at this point. They try to be grateful, yet the feeling does not stay. It fades quickly, leaving behind frustration or guilt. The mind then concludes that it is doing something wrong. But the issue is not a lack of discipline or sincerity. The issue is that gratitude cannot be manufactured where recognition has not yet occurred. True gratitude is not something you do. It is something that arises. It does not come from repeating words or convincing yourself to feel better. It comes from seeing clearly. And until what is true is recognized, any attempt to feel gratitude will feel shallow or temporary. This is why gratitude, when treated as a method, often feels empty. It asks the mind to feel appreciation without first addressing the belief that life is incomplete. As long as that belief remains, gratitude will always require effort. What is needed is not more practice, more discipline, or more positive thinking. What is needed is a shift in understanding. Gratitude is not the cause of wholeness. It is the result of recognizing that wholeness has always been present. And when this is understood, the entire meaning of gratitude begins to change. Forced gratitude feels empty because it asks the mind to feel appreciation while it still believes something is missing. The words may be correct, the intention may be sincere, but the foundation has not yet shifted. Gratitude cannot remain alive when it is built on the assumption of lack. When the mind believes that life is incomplete, gratitude becomes conditional. It depends on circumstances improving, emotions changing, or situations aligning in a certain way. In this state, gratitude is fragile. It rises briefly, then collapses when appearances shift again. This cycle creates disappointment, not peace. The emptiness behind forced gratitude is not a personal failure. It is a natural response to misunderstanding. The mind senses the contradiction. It is being asked to give thanks while still holding the belief that something essential has not yet been fulfilled. As long as this belief remains, gratitude feels artificial. Another reason forced gratitude feels hollow is that it turns attention outward. The mind searches for things to be thankful for, as if gratitude must be attached to objects, outcomes, or experiences. But true gratitude is not dependent on objects. It arises from the recognition of life itself, not from a list of favorable conditions. When gratitude is practiced as a method, it also creates pressure. The mind begins to monitor itself. Am I grateful enough? Am I doing this right? This self-observation pulls attention away from truth and places it back into effort. The result is fatigue rather than rest. In the deepest sense, forced gratitude fails because it treats gratitude as a cause rather than a consequence. It assumes that by feeling grateful, wholeness will be achieved. But wholeness is not produced by emotion. Emotion follows recognition, not the other way around. True gratitude cannot be sustained by willpower. It does not arise because the mind decides it should. It arises naturally when the false idea of lack dissolves. When life is no longer seen as deficient, gratitude no longer needs to be summoned. It simply appears. Until this shift occurs, gratitude will continue to feel temporary or empty, not because gratitude is difficult, but because it is being asked to exist without truth as its foundation. And once this is understood, the struggle to feel grateful begins to loosen. The mind stops trying to create gratitude and becomes ready to recognize the source from which gratitude naturally flows. In truth, gratitude does not begin as an emotion. It begins as recognition. When the mind clearly sees that life has never been lacking, gratitude arises naturally, without effort and without instruction. It is not something that needs to be cultivated. It is something that emerges when misunderstanding ends. Gratitude appears when the false belief of incompleteness dissolves. The moment life is recognized as whole, sustained, and complete, the mind relaxes. And in that relaxation, gratitude quietly surfaces. Not because something new was received, but because something true was finally seen. This is why genuine gratitude feels different from forced appreciation. It does not depend on favorable circumstances. It does not rise and fall with outcomes. It is not directed at a specific event or object. It is a calm acknowledgement of life itself, an awareness that existence is already given, already supported, already complete. When recognition replaces effort, gratitude stops being conditional. The mind no longer says, "I am grateful because something happened." Instead, gratitude becomes a silent understanding. Life is, and that is enough. From this understanding, thankfulness is not performed. It is lived. This recognition does not require positive thinking. It does not ask you to ignore difficulties or deny appearances. It simply places appearances in their proper position. They are seen as expressions on the surface, not as statements about reality itself. When this happens, gratitude is no longer threatened by change. True gratitude is stable because truth is stable. As long as the mind remains anchored in recognition, gratitude remains present, not as excitement, not as emotion, but as quiet appreciation. It is the natural response of awareness resting in truth. Gratitude, in this sense, is not directed outward. It is not something you give to life. It is something that flows from seeing life clearly. And because it flows from recognition, it cannot be forced, improved, or lost. When life is recognized as already complete, gratitude no longer feels like a task. It feels like rest. When the mind stops struggling to complete itself, it naturally comes to rest. This rest is not inactivity or passivity. It is the absence of inner conflict. And in this state, gratitude appears without being summoned. It is not felt as excitement or enthusiasm, but as quiet appreciation. A mind at rest no longer measures life against expectations. It no longer compares what is with what should be. Without this comparison, the sense of lack dissolves. And when lack dissolves, gratitude does not need to be created. It simply remains, steady and calm. This is why gratitude feels effortless when it is real. It does not require reminders or practices. It does not need to be maintained. As long as the mind rests in recognition, gratitude stays present, because nothing is being resisted. Life is allowed to be exactly as it is, without judgment or demand. In this resting state, gratitude is not directed toward outcomes. It is not dependent on success, comfort, or resolution. It exists even when circumstances are uncertain, because it is not anchored in appearances. It is anchored in the recognition that life itself is intact. When the mind is no longer busy trying to fix, control, or improve reality, it begins to perceive the quiet abundance that has always been there. breath, awareness, existence itself. These are not achievements. They are expressions of a life that gives itself continuously. Gratitude naturally arises in response to this recognition. This is why gratitude cannot be commanded. Any attempt to force it pulls the mind out of rest and back into effort. True gratitude remains only when the mind remains still, not still in the absence of movement, but still in the absence of resistance. A resting mind does not try to hold on to gratitude. It does not fear losing it. Gratitude in this state is not something that comes and goes. It is the background tone of awareness when truth is no longer questioned. And in this quiet rest, gratitude is no longer something you practice. It is simply how life feels when it is seen clearly. Now, allow everything to settle. There is nothing you need to feel, nothing you need to express, and nothing you need to prove. Gratitude does not require words. It does not need to be demonstrated. When truth is recognized, gratitude rests quietly as awareness itself. Remain still for a moment. Let the mind stop searching for reasons to be thankful. Let it stop checking whether gratitude is present or absent. In this silence, appreciation is already here. Not as emotion, but as recognition. Life is. And that is enough. You are not asked to thank life for specific outcomes. You are not asked to be grateful in order to receive something else. Gratitude here is not a transaction. It is the natural response of a mind that no longer believes life is lacking. As you rest in this awareness, notice how effort dissolves. There is no need to improve this moment. Nothing is incomplete. Nothing essential is missing. Gratitude remains because nothing is being resisted. Allow this quiet appreciation to accompany you beyond this moment, not as a practice, not as a habit, but as a gentle recognition that life has always been whole and self-giving. If this message helped you recognize even a small part of this truth, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to this channel so these reminders can continue to reach you when they are needed. And if you wish, you may write in the comments. I am grateful, not as a technique, but as recognition. Remain here for a few moments. Life is complete, and gratitude is already present.